Hello everyone. So my name is Trilochan. So I am going to take up India map. Okay. Today we are going to discuss countries which are located in the border region of India. So how many countries are there? What is the India's location? So India is located in the northern hemisphere. So this is the total India map. So what is the area of India? What is the area of India? So area of India is 32 lakh 87,263 square kilometers. So this is the total area of India. Okay. So by looking at this area, you may get one doubt. So what is the position? Okay. So what is the position among other countries in the world? India's position among other countries in the world. Generally, so when you look at the size, India's size is 7th position in the world. Okay, 7th position. 7th position means there are 6 more countries larger than India. There are 6 countries larger than India. Okay, so remember this one. So India is the 7th largest country in the world. There are 6 more countries which are larger than India. So what is the country which is having highest area? Okay, so that is Russia. Okay, so remaining all countries we are going to learn in the next classes. Okay, so first of all we are going to look at India's map. So when you look at India, so India is occupied by water on 3 sides. So when you look at other side, that means this western part and also this northern part and here and even eastern region. So if you look at that complete land area, how much land area is India having? So how much area India is having land frontier? So that is 15,106 kilometers. Okay. So if you look at this Gujarat region, that is Ran of Kutch, and this one is Rajasthan, and this is Gujarat, and this one is Punjab, and this is Jammu and Kashmir, and this one is Ladakh. These two are union territories. This one is Himachal Pradesh and this one is Uttarakhand, and here this is Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, and this one is Nagaland, and this one is Manipur, and this one is Mizoram, and here it is Tripura and Meghalaya, and here it is Assam, West Bengal. So and if you look at this region, this is Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. So all these states are sharing international border with other countries. So how many countries are bordering with India? So there are 7 countries. 7 countries are there. Okay. So these 7 countries, India is sharing its international land frontier with 7 countries. Okay. So 7 countries, if you look at this region, so Bangladesh is there here. So this is Bangladesh. This is Bangladesh. And this one is Myanmar. Previously, it was known as Burma. Okay. This one is Myanmar. and this one is Bangladesh. And what about this one? Bhutan. So this entire stretch is China. Okay. And what about this country? Nepal. And this one, this particular region, okay, this one is Afghanistan. And this one is Pakistan. Okay. So this one is Pakistan. And now if you look at each and every country, how much international border we are sharing with each and every country. Okay. So now you look at Bangladesh. Bangladesh. Okay. So India is sharing 4,096 kilometers international boundary with Bangladesh. Okay, 4,096 kilometers international boundary with Bangladesh. So if you look at the other countries, so we are sharing largest international boundary with Bangladesh when we compare with other countries. Other countries ante that is China. So we are sharing almost 3,488 kilometers with China. Okay. So that means second highest border we are sharing with China. First one is Bangladesh. First one is Bangladesh. So that is 4,096 kilometers. Second one is China, 3,488 kilometers. Okay. So I am going to repeat these points. Okay. Please note down all these points. Okay. Next one, if you look at Pakistan, next highest international boundary that India is sharing with Pakistan is 3,323 kilometers. 3,323 kilometers. That boundary we are sharing with Pakistan. Okay. So, and look at this Nepal. With Nepal, India is sharing 1,751 kilometers. 1,751 kilometers. Okay. So next one is, if you look at Myanmar, we are sharing 1,643 kilometers with Myanmar. So next highest. Then if you look at Bhutan, we are sharing 699 kilometers with Bhutan. This one is Afghanistan. We are sharing less number of kilometers with Afghanistan. Okay. So this one is 106 kilometers. 106 kilometers. That means India is sharing a less number of kilometers with Afghanistan. Now we are going to take up each and every border. Okay. So first of all, we'll take this Bangladesh. Okay. Erstwhile, this was known as East Pakistan. East Pakistan. So at the time of independence, so India got divided into two different countries. One is this British India got divided into two countries. One is India, another one is Pakistan. That means West Pakistan as well as East Pakistan. So this West and East Pakistan and the British India. So India, these things, the border area was decided by, okay, Sir Radcliffe. Sir Radcliffe. So we call him as a Cyril Radcliffe, and he was the one, he doesn't even visited India. So he didn't visited India before independence. Okay, so British was ruling entire India for almost 200 years. In those 200 years, he never had been to India. But then Governor General and the British government tasked him to demarcate India and Pakistan. Okay, so he was the one who completely demarcated India, and without having any kind of knowledge, he demarcated. So he demarcated, and India got independence on August 15th, 1947. And on August 17th, 1947, that means after after 2 days of India's independence, he gave his report. That means he came up with a complete demarcation, this border demarcation plan. So without having any knowledge, he was the one who divided this India. So from then onwards, India has been this border with which we are sharing with Pakistan, that is Western Pakistan as well as Eastern Pakistan. We started calling it as Radcliffe boundary line. So Radcliffe boundary line. Radcliffe boundary line. So in the year 1971, so India fought with Pakistan, and East Pakistan got its independence, and it has become a new country. So that is Bangladesh. So now Bangladesh is the boundary of Bangladesh is known as a Radcliffe boundary. Radcliffe boundary, Bangladesh boundary, which we are sharing. Okay, so that boundary is known as Radcliffe boundary. Okay, so that is one thing. And next one, if you look at this part of western part of India, so we are sharing almost 3,323 kilometers. So here also we are calling this boundary as Radcliffe boundary, but in the Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory and Ladakh Union Territory. Okay, so that particular sector boundary is known as line of control. Not this one. Okay, so this entire boundary is known as Radcliffe boundary. Okay, so but particularly this sector, that is Jammu and Kashmir and this Ladakh Union Territories boundary is known as line of control. So why do we call this particular sector as line of control? Okay, so we are calling it as line of control because it was in the year 1947. We've got independence on 15th August, but in the month of October, after few weeks of independence, Pakistan, that means along with local tribes, they started invading into this territory. So Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh territory was invaded by the local tribes, which they were supported by the Pakistan army. So later Pakistan army also entered into our this Jammu and Kashmir, because Jammu and Kashmir was then independent. It was not acceded to Pakistan as well as even India. So Jammu and Kashmir was the princely state and it wants to remain independent. So when local tribes they wanted to invade Jammu and Kashmir, so at that point of time India put some condition. That means India asked Jammu and Kashmir king to sign the instruments of accession. So immediately king signed and India immediately started military action against those tribes, and slowly the Pakistan army also entered and the war began between India and Pakistan. It was in the year 1947. 1947. That war continued for next almost more than 1 year. Okay, so more than 1 year. So it was in the year 1949 January. So Indian government approached United Nations. So suddenly there was a ceasefire. Okay, it was in the year 1949 January. So that ceasefire line itself goes like this. So ceasefire line goes like this. Okay. So this particular line was recognized as line of control not in the year 1949. So India and Pakistan came together and they discussed at a series of meetings at Shimla. Shimla is located in Himachal Pradesh. So in the Himachal Pradesh, they came together and they discussed, and after discussions, they came to a conclusion. They signed one agreement called Shimla Agreement, because we are calling it as a Shimla Agreement because that that is the place where this entire agreement came framed. Okay, so this agreement framed in Shimla and we call it as Shimla Agreement. So this Shimla Agreement came into being in the August of 1972. So both the countries, India and Pakistan, decided to recognize this particular ceasefire line as line of control, line of control, line of control. Okay, this was the story behind the line of what, why do we call this particular sector as line of control. Okay, so remaining area, actually this entire region was Radcliffe boundary, but after this war, okay, so after this war, okay, this particular area, this sector was started calling it as line of control. Now you look at this China area. Okay, China boundary is, we are sharing 3,488 kilometers. So it was in the year, this boundary was known as McMahon line boundary. Why do we call it as a McMahon line boundary? McMahon line boundary because it was named after the chief negotiator of this boundary area. So who was that negotiator? McMahon. Okay. So he was the negotiator, and this convention was also held at Shimla, but this was in the year 1914. So 1914 between China, Tibet and India. So at that point of time, so this entire boundary was named after this chief negotiator. But so at this point of time, so which area, which sector is known as McMahon line boundary? So that is this eastern boundary of Bhutan and the entire Arunachal stretch, okay, till this tri-junction point. We call it as McMahon line boundary. Okay, then what about this western sector of? So this western sector is known as line of actual control. So what is the difference between line of control and line of actual control? So in this line of actual control, there is a buffer zone. So both the countries are going to actually exercise the control over land. Okay, so suppose buffer zone, if you take this China and India, suppose this is China border. Okay, so here, and there is a thin line, okay, with India is controlling here and China is controlling this region, and this, the between these two actual line of controls, there is a buffer zone. So that buffer zone is not clearly demarcated. So that is the biggest dispute over here. And also, and China is not recognizing the McMahon line. Why? Usually whenever we come across the news article with regard to China's boundary, the dispute between India and China. So the dispute is focusing only on the boundary issue. Why this dispute on and off come into the news? Okay, so say China is not ready to recognize this particular boundary. What is that McMahon line boundary? So that means China is claiming till up to foothills of this region. This foothills means what? Complete China is claiming entire Arunachal Pradesh. So entire Arunachal Pradesh is having Himalayan hills. So that Himalayan hills are completely located in Arunachal Pradesh. China is claiming their territory. So this entire Arunachal Pradesh is also claimed by China. Okay, so that means China is not claiming Assam region. China is claiming entire Arunachal Pradesh. So McMahon line boundary means the eastern sector of this boundary. So when you look at, this is the eastern sector, okay. When you look at this western sector, this is line of actual control. That means there is a clear cut buffer zone existing between China and India. Okay, so there is a clear cut buffer zone existing between India and China. That buffer zone is clearly not demarcated. So that means sometimes Chinese may enter into the buffer zone, sometimes India may enter into buffer zone. So this is how the line of actual control came into being. So this line of actual control clearly both the countries are obeying after 1962 Indo-China war. So that war continued for 30 days. So after that, unilaterally China withdrew. So unilaterally it withdrew from the war. So China 1962 war, India and China came to conclusion that line of actual control is recognized by these two countries, okay, China and India. So this is the difference between line of control and line of actual control. So line of control is a clearly demarcated, and both India and Pakistan are following and they are respecting this particular thing. Okay, so then if you look at this particular zone, so this zone is known as Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So this is a Jammu Kashmir region, and if you look at this particular zone, so this is Gilgit and Baltistan region. So Gilgit and Baltistan, this particular zone. Okay, this one is Kashmir zone. So this is Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So we are saying that one. Okay, so India is clearly saying that that is Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So after 1962 war, so this particular zone, this is Aksai Chin. So this is now under the control of China. And in the year 1963, there was an agreement between Pakistan and China. So in that agreement, Pakistan gave this much territory to the China. So this territory was given to China by Pakistan. So which region was given by Pakistan to China? Gilgit Baltistan region. Gilgit and Baltistan region. Okay, this region. This is Aksai Chin. Okay, this is about China. And if you look at this particular zone and this one, okay, so India is sharing 106 kilometers border with Afghanistan. So the boundary line between India and Afghanistan is known as Durand line. Durand line. So what is this Durand line? So this was a boundary line. So he was the Durand, Mortimer Durand was the person, and he represented the British India, and it was in the year 1893. It was in the year 1893. So he went to Afghanistan, and there was a negotiation between King of Afghanistan, that is Emir of Afghanistan. So Abdul Rahman Khan, so he was the person, and from the British India, so Mortimer Durand was the representative, and they held meetings, and they came to a conclusion that so that they demarcated the line boundary between then British India and Afghanistan. Okay, so this particular, after the partition of British India into India and Pakistan, so this particular region, this Baltistan and Gilgit Baltistan region was the one, a small area. So that is the area where Afghanistan is sharing its boundary with India. Okay, that is 106 kilometers. So that means India's is having land frontier. So how much land frontier India is having? 15,106. 15,106 kilometers. So among those entire boundary frontier, so the least boundary which we are sharing with Afghanistan, that is 106 kilometers. 106 kilometers with Afghanistan, that boundary is known as Durand line boundary. Durand line boundary. Durand line boundary. Okay, and with China, that is line of actual control, and also McMahon line. With Pakistan, line of control and also Radcliffe, and with Bangladesh, that is Radcliffe boundary. So what about Myanmar? What about Bhutan and Nepal? So there is no specific name for these countries. Okay, so there is no specific name for the boundary of these countries. So India is sharing 1751 kilometers boundary with Nepal, but we have got boundary dispute with Nepal. Why? Because it was in the year it was in the year 1814, and for next 2 years there was a war between Nepal and British India for 2 years. So at the end of the war, so this at the end of 1816, so after 2 years war, this war was also known as Gorkha War. Okay, Gorkha War, Gorkha War, or else Nepal War. Nepal war between Nepal and British India. So in the year 1816, this war came to an end after conclusion of one treaty. So that treaty is known as Treaty of Sagauli. Treaty of Sagauli. Treaty of Sagauli. Okay, so this, according to this Treaty of Sagauli, Nepal relinquished its claim of Uttarakhand region, especially now we cannot say that Uttarakhand at that point of time, Kumaon and Garhwal, and also Sikkim, because before that Nepal occupied these two areas, Sikkim and Kumaon and Garhwal region. So locally Himalayas are known as with different names. Okay, so these Himalayas are known as Kumaon Himalayas or Garhwal Himalayas in Uttarakhand region. Okay, so that area is known as Kumaon and Garhwal region. So this entire region was relinquished by Nepal, but according to this treaty, Nepal claimed that the western part of Kali River, okay, so they relinquished, that means they did not claim it's that area, western part of Kali River. What is this Kali River? Kali River is flowing between Nepal and Uttarakhand. That means, so Kali River is forming, creating a boundary between the Nepal and India. Kali River. So that Kali River originating at Limpiadura. So that is a place. So Limpiadura. Limpiadura. This is a place where Kali River is taking its birth. Okay, so next one, Kalapani. Kalapani. This is also a place where Kali River is flowing. Okay, and next one, another important one is important pass, Lipu Lake. So this Lipu Lake is strategically most important one, and generally you come across regarding the Manas Sarovar Yatra. So most of the people from India, they wanted to visit Kailas Manas Sarovar area. So when they wanted to visit, naturally there are two important ways to reach Manas Sarovar, Kailas Manas Sarovar region. One is Lipu Lake region, that is this, and another one is Sikkim route, that is Nathula Pass. So generally Lipu Lake is the one which is in that Lipu Lake Pass, this Kali River is flowing, and Kali River is creating a border between Nepal and India. Okay, so if you look at these three areas, Limpiadura, Kalapani, and Lipu Lake. So these three areas are, like, India is claiming these three areas, but at the same time, Nepal also came up with its map. Okay, so in that Nepal map, they mentioned that these three areas are belong to it's their country, okay, belong to Nepal. So even recently they released a 100 rupee Nepali rupee note. On that note also, currency note also, they clearly gave Nepal's map. In that Nepal map, they mentioned these three areas belong to their country. Okay, so this was the actual dispute, but so the only thing is, still this has not been resolved. So this dispute is between India and Nepal. So how much border we are sharing? 1751 kilometers. So we don't require any passport. That means we don't require any visa to visit this Nepal. Okay, so passport means like some identification proof is required. Otherwise, there is no need of visa to visit Nepal. And the same thing applies to Bhutan as well. If you are having some kind of identification card, that is more than enough. There is no need to have visa to visit Bhutan. So we are sharing 699 kilometers with Bhutan. So 699 kilometers with Bhutan. So this is another important thing, because actually, so Bhutan's the maximum budget, and India is providing, and also that means India is taking care of the foreign affairs and also defense related issues. So, and there was a dispute, okay, Doklam dispute. That Doklam belongs to Bhutan area. So actually China entered. So way back in 2017, that issue was in the news. So that was almost like, it is resolved for some time, for some point. Okay, and next one is, if you look at this location, okay, this is, we call it as Siliguri corridor. Siliguri corridor is the most strategic location where we are having a narrowest land. So that belongs to India. So this narrow corridor is connecting entire India with northeastern part of India. So this Siliguri corridor is also known as Chicken's Neck, and this particular corridor is having a width, okay, that is almost 20 to 22 kilometers. That means 20 to 22 kilometers width. So this particular area is strategically most important because it is located nearer to Siliguri city. So that's why we call it as Siliguri corridor. And why do we call it as a chicken's neck? Because if China or any other country, if they come and occupy this particular region, and automatically that would be cut off from mainland India. So of course, if we consider it as a mainland, okay, so naturally this is entire area is our mainland. If we consider this as a mainland, so this particular region, if China, suppose if China comes and occupy this region, so entire northeast would be out of India's control. Okay, so that is another issue. So now look at here. So we have to look this particular Myanmar. Myanmar is another international border which India is sharing with Myanmar, that is 1643 kilometers. So now look at this tri-junction. So this is China and this one is India and this one is Myanmar. So this tri-junction is the one where we have got Difu Pass. Difu Pass. Difu Pass. So at Difu Pass, we have got three important countries are joining. So that is a tri-junction of three countries: India, China and Myanmar. Okay, so that is Difu Pass tri-junction. And look at this this entire northeast. So in this northeast, this country, okay, Bangladesh. Okay, look at this Bangladesh. Now, if you look at some states in India, especially Tripura, Tripura is almost surrounded by Bangladesh. So Tripura is like connected with two states in India, that is Mizoram and Assam. So on all three parts, it is covered with international boundary. Okay, so we have to conclude this session. So before concluding this session, I wanted to revise everything. So India has got how much area? So India has got 32,87,263 square kilometers. So India is the 7th largest country in the world. So India has got 15,106 kilometers land frontier. So there are 7 countries are having borders with India. So what are those 7 countries? So out of those 7 countries, Bangladesh is having a longest boundary with India. So how much it has got? So 4,096. That means India is having 4,096 kilometers boundary with Bangladesh. That boundary is known as Radcliffe boundary. Okay, so next, second highest is with China, that is 3,488 kilometers. Okay, so with China, so we have got two names. One is McMahon line in the Arunachal Pradesh sector, and if you look at the western sector, that is line of actual control. Okay, and next highest is with, we are sharing with Pakistan, that is 3,323 kilometers with Pakistan. So the boundary which India is sharing with Pakistan is Radcliffe boundary. Along with that, the Jammu and Kashmir and the Ladakh Union Territories are having a different name, that is line of control. Okay, so that is Pakistan. Next highest boundary India is sharing with Nepal, that is 1,751 kilometers. But we are not having a name with the India-Nepal boundary, but we are having a dispute with Nepal. That dispute is with 3 areas, with regard to 3 areas. What are those 3 areas? Limpiadura, Kalapani and Lipu Lake. So Lipu Lake is the pass which is giving a route to the Kailas Manasarovar Yatriya. Okay, so for that Kailas Manasarovar Yatra, this is the pass. And next one is Kali river is originating at Limpiadura region, and Kalapani is also located near to that location. Okay, Limpiadura. So these three areas are having some kind of dispute with India because both the countries are claiming these three areas. This is with regard to Nepal, and with regard to Myanmar, next highest, that is 1643 kilometers. India is sharing boundary with Myanmar. So, Myanmar is the easternmost. Okay, so the entire region was totally porous, and even Bangladesh boundary is also like a little bit porous, but the government is trying to fence the entire border. Even recently, the government of India took a decision to fence this border as well because they wanted to stop infiltrations into India. So this is one. And next one is the next highest with the Bhutan, that is 699 kilometers. 699 kilometers. So that is we are sharing it with Bhutan. So Bhutan, we don't have any kind of border dispute. And the most important thing is here, so India is taking care of Bhutan's defense as well as foreign affairs. But these days, Bhutan is leaned towards China. Okay, so because there was so many other disputes which we can discuss in future classes. And next one is the border which we are sharing it with Afghanistan. That is at the least boundary that India is sharing with Afghanistan is 106 kilometers. 106 kilometers. That boundary is known as Durand Line boundary. Okay, this is all about the countries which are located in the land frontier. So land frontier. Okay, so then we will take up in the next class with regard to the Sri Lanka and the entire the coastline which the India is having. So how much coastline we have? 7,516, and the other neighboring country is in the southern part is Maldives. All these things we are going to take up in the next class. Okay, so I hope everyone understood, and so you please revise and practice these words. Most of them are having some kind of difficulty with the names, so those names should be revised. Okay, so I hope I'm going to conclude this session at this point. Okay, thank you so much. And one more thing is, like I'm going to open the chat box now, and please ask any doubts if you have. Okay, so I'm going to open the chat box. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wars, see, yeah, please ask me what your doubt. Okay, Ravantika, please ask me your doubt. Okay, line of control. So line of control that is with Pakistan only. We have got that line of control. So line of control. So capital of Bangladesh is Dhaka. Okay. So capital of Bangladesh is Dhaka, and maritime boundary. Yes, I'm going to discuss in the next class maritime boundary. So dispute between Bhutan and China. There is a small thing. See, the China is trying to occupy one area, claiming that that area belongs to them, so that Bhutan agrees, okay, you are claiming that area, so what they are going to relinquish. Okay, here there is a point uh, between Bhutan and China. Actually, Bhutan is not at all claiming any kind of territory from this China. Okay, but China is claiming so many areas, so many pockets. That means in the western part of Bhutan as well as in the eastern part. And but China is targeting particular area. So suppose if China is claiming 3 to 4 areas, so finally what will happen? Bhutan will agree, okay, so instead of 4, what do you want? So China, obviously what they say, yeah, this is what we want. So if you are going to give this area, we are not going to claim other areas. That means here I will explain it. Okay, that would be better. Okay, I'll come and explain it this, so that you'll understand it very clear. So just give me 1 minute time. I'll see there's so many messages are there. Let me Sri Lanka dispute, I am going to discuss it later, Andy, because those disputes are not regarding the Kachativu, all these things we can discuss it later. Okay, I'll repeat. Uttarakhand, those areas are Limpiadura and Lipu Lake and Kalapani. So those are the dispute area. See, part of Kashmir is still under the control of Pakistan. So that Pakistan controlled Kashmir is known as Pakistan occupied Kashmir. No, Kazakhstan is not sharing its border with India. Okay, so not entire Kashmir. So the entire Kashmir is not with the Pakistan. There is some area. So that small area is with Kashmir. That location I am going to explain it now. So regarding Bhutan and China also, I am going to explain it. Okay. See, in this location, I am going to explain it. Bhutan and China, and actually, so, okay, no issue. So Bhutan and China. So actually, Bhutan and China, there is no dispute. Actually, China wants to occupy some region. Okay, so in that case, what it is doing? Suppose, I'll tell you, in this area, China suppose claiming one area. So it is trying to claim this region, this region, this region, like that. Okay, so in that case, Bhutan, what will it comes to, Bhutan generally comes to a negotiation. That negotiation, in that negotiation, China is going to claim, say that if you are giving this particular point, they are going to relinquish the claims of these areas. So they are not going to claim. That means no, even if a small area does not belong to China, but still China trying to, because China has got a huge military power and it is trying to claim so much area. So instead of giving and instead of fighting with China, so Bhutan ready to leave the one particular small area to China so that China will not claim other areas. So this is how China is trying to do with Bhutan. So there is no actually dispute, but this is how China wants to occupy some area which is strategically important to China. And even with regard to this one, even Arunachal Pradesh also, China is claiming entire Arunachal Pradesh because it is not recognizing McMahon line, McMahon boundary line. So McMahon boundary line, if it is not recognizing, that means it is claiming the entire Himalayan foothills. That means Himalayas are present till this region, and this is entire plain area. Okay, so this is the thing. And regarding wars, in the next session I'm going to explain it again. Okay, that is we have to explain it clearly. So even if at all any country occupied by any other, like suppose some other country, this China occupied this region, this Ladakh region. Now that's the reason like so many military commanders are having flag meetings and they are negotiating with the Chinese army generals. So why? Because China intruded into the Indian territory, and Ladakh is also claiming Ladakh, especially people of Ladakh. Even Sonam Wangchuk, all those people are undertaking fasting. So because actually they are unable to reach those areas which they previously used to visit. They used to go with their cattle, or maybe they used to go with their goats and other sheep. Okay, so for rearing purpose, like they used to visit so many areas. So now they are not going.